Well, boys, looks like you started the fun without me.
You're all sick. Every last one of you.
We're going to need a bigger gun.
What's the matter? You scared of things that go boom, boom, boom?
Give me one goddamn reason why I shouldn't blow your goddamn brains all over that goddamn wall.
Straight from the Uptown Construction Company, my name is Eric, and I'm here with construction worker Michael Kester.
Hey, fuck you. I'm not a part of whatever's going on outside.
I don't know what's happening there. You know, we always complain about these things, and no one can hear them on the show. You and I can hear them.
Well, and we've seen what they're doing now. They're literally eating the road.
Yeah.
Is what's going on. Yeah. Not the men. The robots are eating the road.
There's just going to be a lot of outside noise, and if it bothers you, I guess you don't listen in headphones.
Well, that's why we have chapters.
Yeah, skip the noise. I'll chapter the noise out.
Yeah.
It'll be chapters 1, 2, and 3. And if you skip to where there's no more show, then the noise will be gone.
Silence. There'll be dead silence.
What are we...
I'm sorry.
It's too early to talk about dead silence. What are we going to attempt to talk about on this show?
We're going to talk about Orphan and Insidious.
Orphan and Insidious.
Yeah, we're going to do a Piano Moms double feature.
I don't think Piano Moms is the...
It's a solid basis for... We go through a lot when we're putting these two movies together.
I don't remember particularly what the idea was this week. I don't think it was Piano Moms.
It was Piano Moms. I just didn't want to tell you.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Something about children?
But
or
like with a Piano Mom twist.
Why don't we talk about Orphan first? There's a scene that this movie starts with. And there's a lot of these on a list of over 9,000 things that I enjoy about this film. One is just all the art direction stuff and the way they use that to, you know, kind of further their cause throughout so we start with the hospital scene, the dream sequence, which is, I've learned to love dream sequences over the years because that's where you do all of the artsy nonsense in your movie. So we get this fucking hospital scene. It's just blood dripping out of the wheelchair. And then there's the just glorious overhead shot of that. They're painting a white line down the center of the hallway.
Painting a red line.
Thank you. They're painting a red line in the white hallway.
There you go.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. There's another one too. They are littered throughout the whole movie. But the other one that springs to mind from pretty early in the film is that shot that rests on the door, you know, where she locks it. So you see the reflection of Kate walking away and then walking back. Just the various things they're trying to accomplish in that shot. They don't have to pan to her walking away. They can show it in the doorknob, but they also show the lock turning. So you see that too. It just conveys a lot of things that you need to express in a scene without moving your camera anywhere, using kind of unconventional mechanics.
The thing that I always remember specifically about this film, other than just Esther and just kind of her persona, is that scene where the bully bitch at school tries to take off her neck ribbon. Oh, yeah. And the camera starts shaking, but Esther's face remains in focus while everything's moving around. That I always remember as one of the definitive looks for the film, even though they never really do much like that.
Yeah, you can get that a couple different ways. I mean, you can still get that in a practical manner if you were to... It's kind of like the snore cam effect.
That's what it kind of looks like.
If you attach the camera to your actor, then, you know, however they move, they're going to remain somewhat stable. Depending on how well that camera's attached, maybe really stable in the shot. You can do that in post, too, by correcting for movement in your camera. So it's something that's built into, I think the first place it was built in was iMovie, and then Final Cut got it. I mean, it's existed a long time before that, but now it's just sort of a default plugin for consumer grade. Yeah. You know, I shot this with my phone and it looks really shaky. Can you stabilize it for me? It's just an automated sort of thing you can do. And a lot of times if you have a really shaky camera, it's going to make it look like a snore cam. And that kind of, it has that digital look to it where I don't feel like the camera was attached to her. I feel like it's kind of done in post. But yeah, that's a hard scene because showing a child freak out in a movie, I kind of feel like it's when I'm at the grocery store and someone's kid's freaking out. I don't want to be around that.
It's not a tantrum. Yeah. And outside of where the camera is, from a wide shot, it becomes a tantrum.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a panic attack to me.
Exactly. Well,
I don't want to see a kid pitch a fit in a movie. It makes me feel awkward.
Well, and that's kind of what's amazing about this film is none of the children are shot as children.
Yeah, right.
Even when Esther's freaking out in the bathroom stall, it's such close quarters and it's all indoors, and it doesn't look like a tantrum. Nobody turns to look at her to tell the mom to hush her up or whatever.
Right.
All the kids are just characters. They're just characters and players in the story.
They treat it, again, it feels like a panic attack.
Yep.
It's like an adult actor sitting in there just having anxiety, not for a moment. Not to say that children flipping out shouldn't be portrayed in film or anything.
Right.
I can make that personal distinction because when I see that in a movie, it's kind of, everybody has their thing.
Yeah.
You know, they don't like to see fingernails fall off or something.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Or ankles sliced. For me, it's children being loud and noisy. Get that away from me.
Yeah.
And the fact that I don't have that internal reaction to Esther is, I think that's one of the tells that they did this correctly, that they're separating that from a child tantrum, that this is something different they're doing. I don't want to totally get into Esther yet. I want to talk about Kate a little bit.
Okay.
About Vera Farmiga's character. We saw her in
Dummy.
I keep forgetting the name of that, Dummy, and we talked a little bit about other things she's done in there. This is a great role for her, and a lot of her recent roles have been a lot more, I don't want to say subdued, because she's having just as many freakouts here. But she used to be she portrayed a lot of wild characters. A lot of people who were tattooed or alternative or had mental disorders. Or she's the pillar of stability in this movie, or attempts to be. She's a tough mom. She loves her kids. She obviously she's had problems in her own life. But when you see her, you know, with either of her kids, even with Esther, you have, when she first picks up her daughter from school, great example of this, you have a very loving relationship. Her daughter runs to her arms. There's that kind of warm embrace.
Sure.
Really excited to see each other. You feel a lot of love there, but it doesn't feel like the typical kind of Disney movie.
Right.
It's not a cartoon. She also yells at her daughter. Minutes later.
Yeah, because she's beating the wall with a basketball while she's being a piano mom.
Right. Right. She's being interrupted in her piano studies. So she goes out and she has a very real conversation with her daughter. She says, "Hey, shut the fuck up. I'm trying to play piano in here." And, you know, her daughter doesn't totally lose it, but it's just this brief moment, and I feel like the only purpose of it is to show the kind of relationship they have.
Sure.
To go, you know what, they can be very real with each other. It's not all, you know, fuzzy bunnies and rainbows.
Well, and I think another big angle is that's the first moment that you see the crack in the Invincible Mom armor.
That's true.
Because with films, especially films with children, which is both of what we're covering today, is you get this initial idea that, okay, the mom is the invincible one and the father is the flawed one who's going to have some weird problem with what's going on, and he's a little insecure, but she is the firm matriarch of the family. Yeah.
She's the suspicious one as well,
right.
And he is the skeptic of the dubious whatever that's going on.
Sure. And so
I love, by the way, because I know I'm going to forget to say this, that they don't attribute their problems to Ghost Cold.
Right. Well,
the other family, and Insidious, as we'll see, immediately goes, well, I guess it must be ghosts, right?
Yeah,
that's clearly the only explanation. Same fucking things happening in this movie, and they go, must be murder his daughter. It's the only logical explanation. But he's dubious of even that, because that's his role.
Sure. And she needs to start unraveling early, otherwise, to the point where she's smacking little girls drinking soda. Yeah. That wouldn't make any sense if she doesn't snap at her own children.
So you're right. It serves a couple purposes then. It shows that she can fly off the handle, that she's doing everything she can to hold it together. But it also shows their bond. It shows that they have this real bond where they can talk to each other that way. Or I guess she can talk to her daughter that way. Her daughter doesn't really have a lot of room to respond. Shut the fuck up, I'm playing basketball would be the appropriate response to that. We start to get to that flaw in her character when we get into the AA stuff and the alcoholism, or I should say specifically not
the not AA stuff. The I quit drinking stuff.
She was so winning anyways, but that whole, she turns around, I didn't go to AA, I just quit. Sounds like something we've talked about here on the show.
Well, I think that that's the angle that separates this family from the family from Insidious.
Go on.
Is AA is your basic 12-step, give yourself over to God, and then,
Sure.
God, and then God, and you're bad, and God's good, and God will make alcohol not be in your life.
Surprisingly, Michael, the organization you're talking about does not publicly publish their statistics on recovery. Isn't that strange?
Do they publish their statistics on operable higher powers?
Yeah, it's 3 of the 12 steps, I think. Have God in the thing. Not a religious organization.
Higher power.
Doesn't
higher
have
power,
to.
It's not God.
Doesn't have to be God, man.
Little
It could be a
God.
rock. It's just something outside yourself.
It's a rock that's stronger than you.
Oh,
that rock isn't drinking.
Stupid idea.
Let that rock be your rock.
I think there's one study that's been dug up on AA and kind of made public. It was the one they talked about in Penn and Teller's Bullshit.
Yeah.
Where the rate of recovery of staying sober over a prolonged 6 months or whatever is no different than people who quit cold turkey.
Yeah.
So this is just another method. AA works for some people. This method also might have worked for them. Works for Kate.
Yeah, we can basically call it just generally quitting, knocking it the fuck off, I think.
So it's something she fights, and we see her have to fight it. We see her go by the wine store. I love that interaction. I'm having guests over for dinner.
Yeah.
Guy does not care at all. Does
he
not care.
He works at a liquor
slightest.
store. Buy everything.
It's kind of like last year we were talking all the time about I think it was the scene in The Blob and again in Amazon Women on the Moon buying the condoms.
Yeah.
I'm just buying these for doctor does not give a shit.
Yep.
Pharmacist does not care at all. Doctor. There's a doctor that works at Target. I'm going to call that person a doctor. Sorry, all about the Target today.
So getting back to the actual concept of the movie and the basic brilliance in one thread is that this family adopts a young girl.
Right.
And she is brilliant and manipulative and sneaky. And basically it's like evil Home Alone.
Okay.
Think if Kevin McAllister were trying to just kill his family.
All right.
That's what this is about. It's about this girl who's torturing this family and is 2 steps ahead of them the entire time. She does horrible, horrible things.
Yeah, she does.
None of which involve the bathroom mirror.
Well, they go to this house. Their house is probably the nicest fucking house of all time. It's, man, if I didn't have this craving for, skyscraper penthouse, I would move into a house like this. It's really gorgeous. It's a huge place and it's gorgeous. And inside the dream house, of course, there is the bathroom mirror, which is the only flaw of the house.
Yeah.
It desperately needs some WD-40. I think it's some kind of oil to... Why does it make that sound? Why?
I don't know. It's terror squeaks.
I was arriving at a point with the mirror. I'm not just actually picking apart what I think is the only flaw to a beautiful house. But it's that scene, man.
Yeah.
It's that Titanic 2 scene.
The Revenge of the Titanic. Don't call it Titanic 2.
Oh, sorry.
Revenge of the Titanic is the film in question. And
where the mirror closes and you see the Titanic
you see
in the
Titanic
background.
looming in the background. You see the villain has been waiting in the bathtub.
Okay.
For you to close the medicine
So we're
cabinet.
talking about hamster style here,
Yeah.
right? Which is what you always get in these bathroom scenes. Close the mirror, nothing's there. Close the mirror.
Horrible monster.
Something awful is there.
Something with a goofy red face.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of a payoff to this because the second time there's a fake out.
Yeah.
So you anticipate that there's going to be a third time where we see Esther and she's coming after Kate.
And you have to try to figure out how she gets that tall.
Yeah. How does she get... Well, they'll pitch it down a little bit. But they're doing the thing where they have the camera behind her and it's a little shaky for no reason.
Yeah.
And the reason is because it's going to be shaky later when it actually wants to make you feel it. The point I'm arriving at here is the hamster style is not paid off.
Yeah, it's just...
Any further than beyond Kate's husband.
That's just... It goes on to define the fact that this film is going to break rules and it's going to defy some of the conventions. I mean, by the end of the film, it's still doing things that were making your jaw drop.
Yeah, that's true.
If I may be completely honest and just go ahead and divulge the scene we're talking about, I forgot that she actually gets away with killing the son.
Yeah.
I've seen the movie about 5 times.
Sure.
I saw it in the theater. I've seen it as many times as, probably anybody.
There's
and she kills the son.
Yep.
And I always am surprised that he dies.
There's a moment of denial afterwards.
Well, you
can't
think,
kill the kid in the movie.
You see the doctors come in and you think crash card and double flawed plan, but he's fucking dead. You kill the kid from Shorts, he's gone.
Well, so sometimes there's payoffs, sometimes there aren't. Sometimes it defies expectation. It mixes it up. You know, you think about something like Hamster Style. You still have things like the ribbons.
Yeah.
The hamster ribbons, right?
Uh-huh.
So why has she got all these ribbons?
Sure.
Don't pay any attention to that.
Sure.
We'll address that later. You know they're coming back to it. But you also knew they were coming back to the mirror.
Yeah.
And you knew they're going to fake out the deaths and the accidents with the kids, but sometimes they don't.
Yeah, well, but you didn't expect them to come back to something like the paintings.
Yeah, sure. Well, that's another thing. You know, you get the empty painting, and then you have the reveal of the blacklight. And then there's an even further reveal later on. Those paintings, I mean, just fucking ingenious. So they have the scene where they're kind of showing, all right, here was the empty... it's not a house, it's the boarding school or whatever, right? The
Orphan Institute.
Yeah, sure. And, you know, then they show the black light. And it's great because in that moment, she's also standing there admiring her own work. And the black light just makes her look fucking creepy.
Mm-hmm.
And up to this point, it's really just lighting and camera angle that will occasionally make her look creepy. For the most part, she looks, and this is one of the things I'm most impressed with, is that I love her from the moment I see her.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's great. And I know, from the fucking poster that she's the scary girl that's going to kill everybody.
Sure.
But man, she's in the orphanage and she is charming as fuck.
She's humming and nicely dressed, painting. She's got
great paintings going on.
Eloquent stories about why she's an artist. I mean, it's almost as if she's a mature adult.
Yeah, almost. And then, you have things like the lighting that make her a little creepy. You have these little moments, but you forget about them so quickly. And that's one of the great things the movie does, is it reveals to you that she's sinister.
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes back to being a nice, sweet girl, and you learn to love her again. You're totally fine with her until the next time it happens. And then towards the end, you get the big reveal with the paintings, which is this giant wall she's put up, this huge collection of kind of a blacklight mural and 2 different paintings of her, I guess, foster parents, right? Sort of, although being 30 later makes that kind of weird. Her foster parents fucking, and it calls back to that earlier scene. The movie does not shy away from the implications of the adult relationships.
Right.
You're thinking about the weird sexual themes. You have the penthouse or Playboy or whatever that the kids are looking at earlier. Just to make sure we can get some nudity in this film besides the drawings. It's a great theme to try and weave into a story about, youth and innocence and children when you're betraying that too. When you're saying, well, it's not a child, it's someone who's actually older. Suddenly all of these adult themes have a kind of a different light to them.
Right. Well, and so do the themes of youth in the film, because when the film is going and it's walking the lines that it's taking and beating nuns with hammers and what have you, you have what is the eldest sibling telling her younger siblings what to do and being the bully older sister, right? That's something that we've seen time and time again, but she's so good at it.
Right.
And then at the end of the film, you realize she's an adult.
Yeah.
And you realize that she's manipulating these children and how easy it is to just get kids to do the things that adults would never fucking do.
Sure.
Think about that. If somebody came up to you and was going to have you help them kill a nun because they were going to tell, you would fucking call the cops. You'd walk the other way. You would call the police, citizen's arrest, whatever the fuck.
Sure.
You wouldn't help them kill a nun.
No.
But if you're 4 and your older sister who knows better and doesn't want to get taken away, I mean, you just need to know how to play a kid.
Well, and beyond even, an adult telling you that as a child, this is almost one of your peers. Yeah. And so she's coerced, probably even easier than had her mother told her that was the right thing to do. But her mother does come into question too. That's another great dynamic here, is that they make Kate look fucking insane later.
And they do such a great job. And they also attribute it to the alcoholism. The backwards car.
Sure, yeah. All the pieces are in play.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's Esther and her fucking perfect planning, right? She's I love everything about this character. I really do. She's got this she masks it a little bit in the beginning as her mom tells her, well, you don't want to stand out or whatever. Mm-hmm. And she says, I thought it was okay to be different. And I think everybody watching goes, oh, she's right.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck you, Kate. Esther's right.
Well, even Kate goes, oh,
Yeah.
she's right. Fuck you, Kate.
Yeah, absolutely. And so here we have this great moral principle that's being thrown out there. It's okay to be different. Right on. And she uses that to mask the fact that she's 30, posing as a child.
Sure.
So she can wear all these, child dresses and the ribbons and stuff and get away with that. And then this actor is awesome.
Yeah.
Just the
fucking fantastic.
Part of it is the charm of how that character is created. It's the Russian accent and the past, and she's an orphan and whatever. But the maturity for her age makes, that's something that's been done. We've seen that a lot. Sure. We talked about that in Christina Ricci's character in The Addams Family. We've seen that in a lot of our favorite, child roles. Is, they're more mature than they're supposed to be for their age.
Well, and I think a lot of that comes with delivery. Specifically, the scene where Kate finds out Esther can play piano.
Yeah, right.
And she says something like, it must suck to have a son who's not interested in a daughter who can't hear. Right. I'm going to go play.
Yeah, and just walks off.
Yeah.
Right? Well,
meanwhile, Kate stands there absolutely unaware of how to respond.
She's been punched in the gut.
Right.
That's how I felt after that. It's an evolution of that concept, really. It's not just, a kid who's mature for their age and don't we love that? And maybe that's why I love it even more, is because it is, a step even further in that direction. It allows scenes like that where they can spar like adults would. A lot of what we liked about, Let the Right One In was sort of the same way, where we had a lot of these, it's conversations as if a couple adults are talking. You just treat the children with that kind of authority, and it allows you to make their characters more interesting.
Right.
You don't have to fall back on cliches like, childhood innocence, something that's only touched on because we have a malicious, appears to be child next to these other children. And by contrast, we examine that, but the movie doesn't have to set that up as a theme.
Sure.
It's just kind of built in that way. Even if the part had been played by an adult, or we were just talking about, an adult killer, there are still moments. She's using youth to her advantage. We see that in the piano scene. She can just storm out like that and go play because she's a fucking kid.
And she doesn't know any better.
But there's stuff like the Russian roulette scene.
Yeah.
The fact that she's asking for her sister to be an ally here and then immediately finds a gun and turns it on her.
Yeah.
Fucking immediately, and says, do you want to play? It's alarming, but then they go right back to being friends. Or she goes right back to, I think her sister's a little freaked out.
Right, but children are resilient, and that's why at the end of the film, these kids haven't come forward.
Sure.
They're not sure of the gravity of consequence.
Well, yeah, she treats it like it was nothing. And so her sister looks at her as a role model and goes, this murderous weapon must not be a big deal.
Right. Well, if you just think about it in the viewpoint of scales, the little girl, say she's 4 years old. Like, what percentage of your life by year have you had a gun pointed at you? 25% of my 25% of my life.
Okay, sure.
So it's not the most common thing, but it happens 1 out of every 4 years.
Yeah, well, and you don't know what that really means yet. You haven't seen all the other ways guns are used.
Exactly.
They're bad and dangerous, but now someone else is showing you probably.
But so's a lake.
Yeah, yeah.
So are knives. So's the outlet.
Yeah, at this point, you'd be more afraid of the lake than the gun. So she just treats it like it's nothing. The same way when she said fuck, as if she knew the meaning of the word, like they were talking about, but it just came out like it was nothing. And at the time, you chalk that up to her character. But this is one of the many, many things where you can go back and go, she's 30. Of course, she just uses the word. She can do that in a way that a child probably couldn't, even if they were planning to. It's like she said it before, because I'm sure she has. It's the same thing with the piano. Wow, she has all the skill at the piano. Once you get that reveal, all of a sudden, she's probably been playing piano for 20 years.
Sure.
She's great at painting. Well, she's probably been at it quite a while. And so all of these magnificent skills she has, the way she talks, it all makes further sense in the context of, well, actually, she's been at all this stuff.
And that twist isn't an easy swallow.
No, it's certainly not.
A lesser film, that would have been the moment where I would have just finally...
You would have bailed. That would have been it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's the reason that I worry about showing the film to people, because it's a tough swallow, and it's a little goofy. But in the context of the film, by the time it comes up, that is so not what the movie's about.
No, you don't even care.
It's
at that
just
point.
an explanation. And that's what it is. It's an explanation, not a twist. And that's the strength of a good twist, because by the time you get there, you're not surprised and you haven't figured it out.
Yeah, a lot of times I think I don't like a twist because it feels unnecessary.
Sure.
It's me wishing the movie would just sort of stand up on its own merit and not feel the need to chalk in a bonus. Rather than being, an excuse we don't need, it's kind of like an additional layer to the movie. It adds sort of another dimension, especially when you see it again, because you can go back through and you could say, oh, you can kind of think about the backstory. Oh, these are, this is how she learned to do, the painting and the piano and all of these different things.
And how often they say she's mature for her age.
Yeah. Every time they say that, suddenly there's another dimension to that. And I like that about it. It's, how she picks up signing so fast, or why her English is so well spoken, like they point out. And then her demeanor as well. Her demeanor throughout the movie. Sure. You can watch it again before you know that she's 30, and you see it in a completely different way. And it really gives her the upper hand when when her and Kate start fighting. For me, when I think about that scene where she's in the white chair, Kate walks in, and that's really the one where I feel that balance of power has definitely shifted.
Yep.
Where there's no longer a question in my mind that she's dominating over Kate. Because Kate comes in and she's reading Kate's diary. Yeah. And then she's reading it from fucking memory.
Right.
Also, again, huge tribute to that actor that she's, this is, now you know what it sounds like when she's reading lines. Sure. Because she's reading from a diary. Right. Sounds nothing like her in the rest of the film. She's just so natural at everything. But you have that reversal, and she has to remind you over and over that she's a child.
Sure.
Because she's doing it so well at that point that you've forgotten. But she says to her, what are you going to do? Hit me?
Yeah.
And suddenly, age gives her this kind of tactical advantage.
Sure. So there's the colloquial phrase, youth is wasted on the young.
Right.
And this shows the dark side of that idiom.
Right.
Because the phrase is meant to mean, by the time you're old enough to understand the world, you're too old to fully be able to enjoy it. Because when you're young, you're a kid and you're full of life and you have all this energy.
Right.
What if you knew all the bad shit you can do?
Right.
And you knew that you were too young for any consequences.
They took something that could have been a disability for them, and they've basically seized hold of it.
Yeah.
In a way that's become, their most powerful weapon.
Well, it's because it's okay to be different.
Because it's okay to be different. I'm glad you took that out of the film. Insidious is a movie by James Wan, who is a director we've talked about a little bit on the show before.
We have. He's also a director of the Splat Pack, notable for one of our Paloozas.
Yeah, which one was that?
The Saw Palooza.
Oh, yeah, it was him and the writer, right? And a couple of the ones following that.
Right. And then the other film that he did in the early 2Ks was the puppet movie, Dead Silence.
Yeah, so if you'll remember back to Saw, we talked a little bit about how he kind of left Saw to do Dead Silence and to do Insidious and work with that writer on a couple different projects.
Sure. And
this was one of those projects.
He's still massive in the horror community. Him and Orphan are Orphan being the Paranormal Activity guy, are two huge horror producers. The two of them together are who produced Lords of Salem. And they did, Orphan produced The River, which was directed by the director from Orphan. I mean, those two guys are fantastically hardworking within the horror community, even though James Wan, particularly with Dead Silence, a little bit with Insidious, is a little ghosty for a double feature.
Yeah, he is ghosty. Yeah, but we don't get an opportunity to make ghost cold jokes very often.
Right.
So it's always good to have one of these movies in here once in a while. I almost feel bad pairing anything up against Orphan because of the force that it is. But Insidious...
I think Insidious opens with just as much of a punch as Orphan.
Well, when I watch Insidious, I choose to embrace a lot of the crazy stuff it does.
Sure, that's you have to.
Because I think that's what makes it stand out as a film. You have to love that stuff about it. Otherwise, it would just be another Splat Pack film.
Right.
And the way that it stands out is by bringing in this sort of goofy sideshow absurdism that the other films, it's set in a reality less real maybe than the other movies.
It's so reminiscent of old 1940s Hammer horror.
Oh God, I was just gonna say that.
It's this. You're right. I mean, Sideshow, like it's vaudevillian,
sure,
and it's over the top. The difference is you have Patrick Wilson, who's a heavy actor.
Right.
He's never going to be your Basil Rathbone or your Peter Cushing,
sure,
where he comes in and speaks in odd verse, even though his lines are prose,
sure,
and steals the scene by almost being Shakespearean in his grandiosity. Patrick Wilson is the low player in any film, so you need another actor, and that's where you get Lin Shaye.
Sure.
Lin Shaye, I think, was probably in some Hammer horror films.
Sure. Lin Shaye might be the Bela Lugosi, where Patrick Wilson is more the Vincent Price. Is that kind of what's going on here?
Yeah.
I don't know how Peter Lorre fits into this equation yet, but we'll figure it out.
Sleeping Child.
Wasted, Peter Lorre. Your life wasted. No, I mean, look at the opening credits.
Yeah.
Right? This isn't
exactly. This isn't
something we're making up to find the place that Insidious fits into the Splat Pack.
To you.
It's black and white, high contrast titles, and the fucking music is the most Hammer horror of anything.
Oh my God, that music. It's the most characteristic part of the film for me.
Yeah. It's one of the things that drives into the tension, but it's also just so boldly over the top that you can't even, I feel like I'm offending it to call it over the top because it's pitch perfect for what needs to be.
It reminds me so much of, do you remember Drag Me to Hell?
Yeah.
It's the same tongue in cheek, only a little bit darker.
Yeah. It's the same tongue in cheek with less elbow nudging. Hey, this is tongue in cheek.
Sure. Fewer speaking goats.
That's probably what it is too. It's the only thing during the beginning half of the movie that separates it from something like Ty West's The House of the Devil.
Yeah.
You have an opening, the whole first act that would be, even some beyond that, I guess, that would just be paced old school. I mean, when I say old school, I mean Hitchcock old school. Old school is a meaningless phrase we just throw around all the time. The kind of Hitchcock era stuff that's all about tension, but the music keeps coming in and going, no, I've seen the end of the film. This is what we're doing
like
here.
The Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, with more banging on the inside of the piano than the outside. Knowing that the music can be that powerful, though, makes the tension even greater the beginning, because at any moment these silent scenes could turn into letting a monkey loose inside of your piano. It really could just be these shrill sounds the human ear does not want to hear that might get unleashed at any time. I'm scared of that.
And with the juxtaposition of silence and great volume, Insidious has remastered something that I thought I had completely
remastered. I'm excited. What is
horror. The jump shot.
Oh, yeah.
The fucking scaring the shit out of you when you know it's coming.
Yeah.
Because we're jaded.
Yeah.
Not just me and you. Every member of Podmanity is fucking jaded.
Yeah.
And on top of that, everybody they know is jaded.
At this point, we've not only covered a bunch of horror films, but hopefully accomplished our goal of convincing people who don't like horror films to watch them anyways.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
But you're right. That scare shot that we used to talk so much about, where not only does it, we see it and it doesn't have an effect. I don't even know that I see it in movies anymore.
You can tell when there's a bad one because you see it coming and then it happens and everyone around you goes, ugh.
Yeah, right.
And you go, really? That got you?
But instead, I do that. I go, huh.
So do I.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's scary.
Insidious is amazing in its ability to scare the fuck out of you just
cheaply,
using that string orchestra and something and walking across the frame.
Yep. Yeah. They do it in the way that, it's obscured in shadows in the background. You're going around a corner and it's revealed to you. It shows up in a mirror. Actually, I don't think they pulled the mirror one, but it is a lot of those cheap shots of, sometimes it's more clever twists on that.
Sure.
I don't want to say it's just cheap shots because that sounds mean. Sure. They do that great one where he's
walking outside the window.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that. Yeah, and then he's inside.
Yeah.
So you expect him to maybe, enter. It's not that scare shot at the end of the movie where something rushes towards the camera, Japanese horror style.
Uh-huh.
Instead, it's just a thing is wandering around and you expect that it's outside, maybe coming in, and then one time it walks back from the side of the frame and it's inside. There's also a lot of the camera stuff that kind of goes with that. The sliding around the corner of a door, what's going to be there when we look inside. the the Last Exorcism crazy stuff and the wall kind of shot that they play with.
Well, a lot of what I notice with the camera is that it's never outside.
How do you mean?
Always claustrophobic when there's people in the frame.
Oh, sure. Well, they have the great establishing shots.
Right.
Though,
I was just going to say, you see the house.
Yeah. Those wide angle kind of 360, but like they're doing MTV Cribs.
Yeah.
On the outside of the haunted house. Yeah.
Did you notice when it panned up when she heard the creepy voice on the baby monitor, it followed the banister of the underside of the second floor.
Absolutely.
That curve, and then spiraled to look at the light.
Yep.
It follows the house and this is weird because it's misleading in a way that you wouldn't expect until you get there.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me if you felt this way. But when they move into the next house, it kind of stops dealing with the home.
Yeah.
And starts just dealing with, because you see the little kid.
Yeah,
great.
Well, the camera wants you to know that it was a haunted house.
Yeah,
it's trying to convince you of it too.
Exactly. The camera is showing you the parts of the house that are a little avant-garde and the parts that smoothly curve and sneak into places. And then you get to the nice suburban house, and then there's a little kid dancing.
Yeah, right. It's totally different.
That's why I fucking love it. And I know it's not even that big of a reveal, but because Lin Shaye delivers it, and because it's something that I'd never seen before in film, it's not the house that's haunted.
Right.
It's your son.
Your kid is haunted.
I love that. I love your son is haunted. Well, because it immediately begs the question. If your son was haunted and you didn't believe in ghosts, but all these horrible things were happening, would you just leave him on the side of the road?
Yeah. How do you deal with that? Well, it's his body, right? There's still hope for him. She's helping mix that. Really, it's a variety of nonsense that people believe into a mythos.
Sure.
They're talking about he's been astral projected too far, and now his body is sought out for by ghosts, and he's in another dimension that's also limbo or the underworld or something. You're going to have to wide angle yourself into another plane of existence in order to get his soul back. It's weird to go back to the camera stuff really quick.
Yeah.
Really, the entirety of the old house stuff, and a lot of the stuff even... Not so much when they get to the other dimension thing, although it's hard to tell in there. A lot of it's wide angle lens shots, but it's also, wide shots themselves, these faraway shots from the shadows kind of peering into the light. That's how they make that house kind of feel creepy and haunted. They show you how big it is, and they keep you in the shadowy parts. You're not looking into the shadows so much as looking at the vulnerable character with his tiny flashlight way on the other side of the room. The camera is also pitched at kind of an unusual angle. So you have the frame tilted to the side and then the camera leaning awkwardly a little bit up or a little bit at an angle itself, unusually low. Even in the scene where they're looking up the stairs, the camera's kind of at that extremely low angle looking up. Just trying to make the house seem that much bigger, make her seem that much further down when she's down there with that baby monitor.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing, too, the baby monitor. They have this old haunted house, and rather than just using the conventions of this, old fucking house, they have the modern technology that's being used to, frighten them, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's the sounds coming out of the baby monitor, giving us a little bit of that... I think it's called EVP or something, electronic voice phenomenon or whatever.
The white noise.
Yeah, when people think this nonsense is real. What was that thing Rebecca Watson used to say?
That is total bullshit.
That's the one. People, this does not actually exist. Ghost hunters in this movie. This does not actually exist.
Okay, so there's two major playing points I want to talk about.
There's another thing I forgot about too. Just briefly, the security alarm. Another thing that's used to scare the crap out of them. Modern piece of technology.
Yeah.
No, sorry, you were going to talk about the ghost hunters.
I want to talk about the ghost hunters.
Don't ever let me cut you off from talking about ghost hunters again.
Because I have one great thing to say about them.
Yeah.
And two things that I don't like about the ghost hunters. And it has nothing to do with the fact that they're hunting ghosts.
Surprise, surprise.
So Lin Shaye.
Poltergeist. Sorry.
Lin Shaye is fucking incredible.
Uh-huh.
And not only as Lin Shaye and as this, she's probably in her 60s and I have a huge crush on her.
She's great. She really is.
She's incredible in that I feel like her understanding of the world outside of ghost hunters, of your and my and Patrick Wilson's world, is so apropos. She's the first one when he says, this is bullshit. She's like, I should go.
Yeah.
I know what this is like. I understand.
Well,
I
she's kind
of
jaded and just there to pay the bills, usually, but she also has secret real ghost powers.
The thing that she says, I'm going to take your invitation of me here as acceptance of my reading.
Yeah.
She sits down and says, I'm not sure I should tell you this, but I'm going to tell you. She says, it may conflict with a medical decision.
Sure.
But I'm going to take the fact that you asked me to come here as acceptance that you want my, hand quotes, professional opinion.
Sure.
As much as she's still pulling their fucking chain in a normal world,
yeah,
the amount of human decency it takes to go, don't take me seriously unless you really want to believe me. That's something that I've never seen.
Well, she's treating it the way that, you know, a lot of times conversations about religion or whatever happen in the real world where, you know, in the opposite direction, where you kind of go, listen, I know you believe in all that Christian mumbo jumbo, but I have a scientific opinion, and if you want it, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
She's kind of doing the opposite thing here. And of course, you know, they ask for it and they wind up in other world.
And they get it.
What's it called?
Further.
The further, yeah. With the living statues and the... can we talk about the descent into the further?
Before that, I want to talk about
your
what
other
I
thing.
don't like.
Sure.
And then we can just descend as far as we want to, because this is a great jumping off point for a descent. Comic relief in film.
Oh, yeah.
The basic idea of comic relief, everybody's fucking aware of it because we're all over the age of 12, is where you have Chris Rock in your movie, or Chris Tucker is a better example.
Great.
And everybody's serious, and then cut to Chris Tucker for a one-liner because the levity has been lost in the scene.
Sure.
It was a technique probably developed, I would say probably honed in the 80s, when you were trying to garner a teen audience. You know, slashers have it in spades.
Sure. This is different than the straight man dynamic, which I believe we've gotten emails from people under the age of 12 about the straight man dynamic. So we're wrong even about that.
So in this film, the tension, it's terrifying. You don't understand what's going on. You hate that it's happening. And you
don't like
want
it at
some
all.
kind of resolution.
Yep.
Then you bring in two dopey fucking ghost hunter scientists who are arguing about equipment, and one's got a bigger light than the other, and my drawings are more important than your computers.
And they're the guys you're going to get answers from.
I just don't understand.
Yeah, they come in and they're buffoons. And they're, you know, the reason I like them coming in as buffoons is because Lynn's character then gets to mock them.
Sure.
And, you know, make herself not just the usual ghost hunter, to kind of point at them and go, the people doing the poltergeist shit, they're crazy, but I'm the real deal.
That's actually a legitimate point.
You know, they're using modified toys.
I can see
and
that,
I'm using
though.
spiritual powers.
I think that that's probably what it is to separate Lynn Shay
from faulty wiring.
Well, they come in and Patrick Wilson's eyebrow goes up.
Yeah,
and he gives a side glance to his wife, and she's forced to even go,
yeah, sorry about these guys.
But then Lynn Shay comes in, and you're saying to yourself, okay, Patrick Wilson, I understand that you're a hardliner, but I mean, at least she's not these guys.
Yeah, it's a way for the film to put us a little bit more on her side right away.
So let's go a little further.
Movie starts, and we just have some people moving into a home, right? And then it turns out their home is haunted. Whoa, little crazy. Home is haunted. And then, you know, they have this haunted home that's, I mean, you got to bring in ghost hunters because that's what you do in a haunted house. Then ghost hunters aren't fucking ridiculous enough. So then we have to go and do the further, which is literally just how can we take this further?
Yeah,
right?
That's what it becomes.
That's exactly what's happening.
Let's push it.
This isn't fucking absurd enough. How do we go even more in that direction? How do we take it beyond its logical conclusion?
Well, this is the step beyond the exorcism.
Yeah,
we've had the exorcism. It's a seance with a gas mask.
Sure.
But that is the most fucked up, weird seance gas mask I've seen short of a talking goat.
Yeah.
And this is how they push it. This is James Wan proving that he is a horror guy and that he can take it to a level it hasn't been to before, even at the risk of his own film.
Yeah, suddenly we get into this steampunk kind of weird gas mask, man. It's you know, we were talking on the what was that episode? It was Willow and Mirror Mask about Neil Gaiman and Sandman stuff.
Yeah.
And that was a thing in Sandman. I think I was trying to describe the weird helmet thing he has, which just looks like a gas mask. You're putting maybe this is a thing. You put a gas mask in a world where it doesn't belong, and it freaks everybody the fuck out.
Right.
Yeah, so she's wearing it, and it's creepy, and they have the weird seance scene, and then they go into the other world, and there's fucking living statues. Living statues are about as far as you go on the terrifying scale before you just get into the oh come on scale, before everything just becomes I mean, I keep going back to the word absurdism, but I don't know how else to address it than that. You know, that's really what it is.
True.
So you're right, he takes those risks. He's not always going for creepy. You know, when they're not going for creepy, they go for vaudeville.
Sure.
They go for let's create something for people to remember.
Right. They play 20s music. They bring the doll theme back, which I think is a huge thing with James Wan.
Yeah, right.
I think there's some horrible thing. You know the thing where they say, "Where on the doll did he touch you?"
No, it's where on the doll did Darth Maul touch you?
Oh yeah, that's true. Darth Maul. So there's a scene in this where they reenact the Clint Howard Rob Zombie commercial, but with this red-faced Darth Maul.
By the way, yeah.
Have you seen the one with?
Of course I have.
Okay, good.
We should link somewhere on the site to all the Rob Zombie commercials. They should be their own Killapalooza.
Yeah, the Dan Roebuck one was hilarious.
Anyways,
sorry. Yeah, it's where the kid is chained up. It's where Dalton has been chained.
Right.
And it's completely separate from everything we've seen in the film. Everything's yellow, and it's loud, and there's clanking.
And there's more dancing.
Yeah, and there's a demon listening to... I can't think of the song now, because all I can think of is The Glory of Love.
Sure. Well, so this very same
Tiptoe
demon...
Through the Tulips.
Oh, there it is. This, I didn't remember either. This demon was scary earlier in the movie, and now is crazy,
horrifying.
is zany. Yeah, it is horrifying, though. Yeah.
Early with the pointing, and then the half face.
Yeah, you're scared of when you're going to see him. And as you start to see him, you think, wow, I was not ready for this at all. And again, just surprising you, going in a completely different direction. You don't understand anything about this world. It's something different than you imagined. That's what makes it memorable to me.
Yeah.
That's what makes it stand out, is that it goes off the rails at the end, and they do a circus fucking sideshow.
All right, so we have a website. That's doublefeatureshow.com. We have an email address, which is doublefeatureshow@gmail.com. You can email us, I don't know, something about, what was the thing I made fun of 12-year-olds? If you're under 12 and you listen to our show,
write Michael an angry email, and I will send it to him. Be nice to me in the email, though, because I have to read it first. What are we doing next time on the show?
Next time on the show, we are doing The Artist and Barton Fink.
Still gonna be weird.
Okay. Well, I mean, is there anything more to say other than watch more fucking film?
And goodbye.
In the story,
they treat it, again, it feels like a panic attack.
Yep.
It's like an adult actor sitting in there just having anxiety, not for a moment. Not to say that children flipping out shouldn't be portrayed in film or anything.
Right.
I can make that personal distinction, because when I see that in a movie, it's kind of, everybody has their thing.
Yeah.
You know, they don't like to see fingernails fall off or something.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Or ankles sliced. For me, it's children being loud and noisy. Get that away from me.
Yeah.
And the fact that I don't have that internal reaction to Esther is, I think that's one of the tells that they did this correctly, that they're separating that from a child tantrum, that this is something different they're doing. I don't want to totally get into Esther yet. I want to talk about Kate a little bit.
Okay.
About Vera Farmiga's character. We saw her in...
Dummy.
I keep forgetting the name of that, Dummy. And we talked a little bit about other things she's done in there. This is a great role for her, and a lot of her recent roles have been a lot more, I don't want to say subdued, because she's having just as many freakouts here. But she used to be a really she portrayed a lot of wild characters. A lot of people who were tattooed or alternative.
Well, boys, looks like you started the fun without me.
You're all sick. Every last one of you.
We're going to need a bigger gun.
What's the matter? You scared of things that go boom, boom, boom?
Give me one goddamn reason why I shouldn't blow your goddamn brains all over that goddamn wall.
Straight from the Uptown Construction Company, my name is Eric, and I'm here with construction worker Michael Kester.
Hey, fuck you. I'm not a part of whatever's going on outside.
I don't know what's happening there. You know, we always complain about these things, and no one can hear them on the show. You and I can hear them.
Well, and we've seen what they're doing now. They're literally eating the road. is what's going on. Not the men. The robots are eating the road.
There's just going to be a lot of outside noise, and if it bothers you, I guess you don't listen in headphones.
Well, that's why we have chapters.
Skip the noise. I'll chapter the noise out.
Yeah.
It'll be chapters 1, 2, and 3. And if you skip to where there's no more show, then the noise will be gone.
Silence. There'll be dead silence.
What are we...
I'm sorry.
It's too early to talk about dead silence. What are we going to attempt to talk about on this show?
We're going to talk about Orphan and Insidious.
Orphan and Insidious.
Yeah, we're going to do a Piano Moms double feature.
I don't think Piano Moms is the...
It's a solid basis for... We go through a lot when we're putting these two movies together.
I don't remember particularly what the idea was this week. I don't think it was Piano Moms.
It was Piano Moms. I just didn't want to tell you.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Something about children,
but
or...
like with a Piano Mom twist.
Why don't we talk about Orphan first? There's a scene that this movie starts with. And there's a lot of these on a list of over 9,000 things that I enjoy about this film. One is just all the art direction stuff and the way they use that to, you know, kind of further their cause throughout so we start with the hospital scene, the dream sequence, which is, I've learned to love dream sequences over the years because that's where you do all of the artsy nonsense in your movie. So we get this fucking hospital scene. It's just blood dripping out of the wheelchair. And then there's the just glorious overhead shot of that. They're painting a white line down the center of the hallway.
Painting a red line.
Thank you. They're painting a red line in the white hallway.
There you go.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. There's another one too. They are littered throughout the whole movie. But the other one that springs to mind from pretty early in the film is that shot that rests on the door, you know, where she locks it. So you see the reflection of Kate walking away and then walking back. Just the various things they're trying to accomplish. In that shot, they don't have to pan to her walking away. They can show it in the doorknob, but they also show the lock turning. Right. So you see that too. It just conveys a lot of things that you need to express in a scene without moving your camera anywhere, using kind of unconventional mechanics.
The thing that I always remember specifically about this film, other than just Esther and just kind of her persona, is that scene where the bully bitch at school tries to take off her neck ribbon. And the camera starts shaking, but Esther's face remains in focus while everything's moving around. That I always remember as one of the definitive looks for the film, even though they never really do much like that.
Yeah, you can get that a couple different ways. I mean, you can still get that in a practical manner if you were to... It's kind of like the snore cam effect.
That's what it kind of looks like.
If you attach the camera to your actor, then, you know, however they move, they're going to remain somewhat stable. Depending on how well that camera's attached, maybe really stable in the shot. You can do that in post, too, by correcting for movement in your camera. So it's something that's built into, I think the first place it was built in was iMovie, and then Final Cut got it. I mean, it's existed a long time before that, but now it's just sort of a default plugin for consumer grade. Yeah. You know, I shot this with my phone and it looks really shaky. Can you stabilize it for me? It's just an automated sort of thing you can do. And a lot of times if you have a really shaky camera, it's going to make it look like a snore cam. And that kind of, it has that digital look to it where I don't feel like the camera was attached to her. I feel like it's kind of done in post. But yeah, that's a hard scene because showing a child freak out in a movie, I kind of feel like it's when I'm at the grocery store and someone's kid's freaking out. I don't want to be around that.
It's not a tantrum. Yeah. And outside of where the camera is, from a wide shot, it becomes a tantrum.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a panic attack to me.
Exactly. Well,
I don't want to see a kid pitch a fit in a movie. It makes me feel awkward.
Well, and that's kind of what's amazing about this film is none of the children are shot as children.
Yeah, right.
Even when Esther's freaking out in the bathroom stall, it's such close quarters and it's all indoors and it doesn't look like a tantrum. Nobody turns to look at her to tell the mom to hush her up or whatever.
Right.
All the kids are just characters. They're just characters in play.